Hello, friends. We are back for your favorite podcast of the week. It's Location Weekly. This is episode number 685. We are recording on September the 4th. Yes, it is September. Summer's still not done yet, but hanging on, and kids are back to school and all of that. And, busy time. How are you, Brianna?
I'm good. Yes, my kids went back to school today. So I feel like, woo, we're celebrating, we did it. We made it through the summer.
Right.
It's like the last 2 weeks, are like super stressful because camps are over. You're trying to work and get back into the groove of things, and it's just chaotic. So I'm glad. And we've had like really nice, crispy, almost fall weather here. I'm hoping we get like one more round of heat for a couple
Yeah.
weekends, but it's nice. I'm not ready for fall, but like it's just nice. I'm so excited to get back into a routine.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Uh,
So, yeah, I
you're
think we
past
still
that
have some good
though.
weather ahead. So, yeah, I
You're
do.
past that a little bit. Like the little ones, you're like, okay, it's time. It's
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But that's all right. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have four stories as usual to walk our listeners and viewers through, so I'll let you kick it off.
All right. Out of home story to start the day. A company called Nicolytics, and they are a VC-backed company. They have acquired Truck Ads, which is a 30-year truck side advertising veteran company. So they're really hoping to expand their mobile, like literally mobile, not mobile phone, but moving around out of home ads market. So Truck Ads, just a little bit about them. They have 127 affiliates that they've signed. They have 54 URLs that protect their brand. I mean, I don't really know what that means exactly, but I guess like if you're looking up their advertising, there's a lot of ways to find them. They rank very high on Google keywords. They have a Vanity 800 number. So I think it aligns with like the fleet advertising services that they offer. And over the past 2 years, they've generated 5.5 million revenue from just marquee Fortune 1000 clients. So I think like adding it to a portfolio of out of home and being able to kind of seamlessly place out of home, whether it's like standard billboards or digital or now truck side advertising. I think it's really cool. Like I like the idea of having a suite of offerings and not maybe just being like one thing, you think of like, okay, we're just billboards or we're just digital, like in store. So it sounds like this is, a good way for Nicolytics to grow. And a little bit about Nicolytics, I had to look them up. I don't know them super well, but they have this hyper local out of home advertising operation. And so they just say it's like simple as scaling online advertising. But yeah, they're venture backed and they have a platform. So I guess just like growing it, expanding it. And if you've been in truck site advertising for 30 years, it's great that you can still get acquired, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think this is a good partnership. I think it to your point, I think it expands the portfolio for them. Up here in Toronto, like I'm on the advisory board for a company called Movia or Movia, depending on how you want to pronounce that, Movia. Media, and so they're a truck side advertising company, a little different. They're more technology focused, so they have beacon and Wi-Fi tracking of devices that are in proximity of the trucks, so you can actually retarget the folks that are nearby that are potentially seeing those ads. But yeah, I think there's been an explosion overall in this sort of mobile vehicle based advertising. We've talked a lot about Uber and Lyft and Taxi Top advertising lately. I think the truck side advertising can be very effective and super location based, right? Like you can really tailor to, especially when you're working with local fleets and local delivery companies and things like that are part of your network. So I think this is a good move for Nicolytics. I know these guys are a Florida-based company, so there's a lot of potential down there for promoting. I see a lot of the truck ads around tourism related, offers or promoting vacations to, other Caribbean islands or those kinds of things. So I think there's a lot of potential in the space. So yeah, good partnership. Okay, moving on. Our second story now, we're going to talk about a company called USIM. I also wasn't super familiar with these guys. They've announced a release of a new platform called Purview 2.0. They're describing this as a proprietary AI-driven location-based marketing platform. Essentially, what we're talking about is enabling a platform that enables their clients to create customized trade zones, that are defined by different locations and geographies, and then do, sort of ad targeting within those zones, potentially, changing that, from targeting people at work or at home, or different days of the week or different times of week, and looking, to, how you can optimize your ads for peak performance. So, I'm going to say like not anything we haven't seen before in terms of the technology or the offering or the capability, but as we see often with these types of companies, I looked up USIM, and they're quite a robust organization, offering a wide array of services, right? So they're in the ad buying or media buying space. They have their own ID graph. They have a lead platform. They have all sort of they're doing work in SEO and all those kinds of things as well. So when I see these types of announcements, what it says to me is they have demand within their existing customer base, and this becomes a way to sort of generate additional revenue from customers you already have, and maybe open up your platform to others that you've been missing out on competitively, right? So I think it's good from that perspective. So yeah, those are my quick thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think that again, you like mentioned, we've seen this before. I think of like hedge funds and stuff when I think of these types of tools, right? Like planning or real estate planning, maybe for like QSRs and things of that nature that would be able to utilize this beyond marketing. I think that conquesting is one thing, but also like planning and having a better understanding of your brand, I don't know, performance in certain areas, I think is really a unique thing, right? Like you always think of like brand reach, but how does that change from location to location? And as you can imagine, like cultural differences, even just across the US and how people behave and interact with certain brands is always something that you kind of need some hard data on. And I think this could be like, I think a lot of times it's just the raw data that historically brands or businesses have been using for this, but having a platform that's kind of geared up specifically for this, maybe there's some advantages to that, right?
Absolutely, yeah, very
Okay,
good.
let's go to another big story. Well, big company. I don't know if it's a big story, but Amazon is launching a new program. This is called Returnless Resolutions. All right. So if you are the type of person that returns everything, you may not qualify. Let's just go ahead and say that. But they have launched this program that's allowing sellers. So if you are selling on the Amazon platform, and you're using their fulfillment services, they now have the ability to issue product refunds without customers actually returning the product or the item, right? Now, the point of this is that it's expensive. So the fulfillment piece and then the return, dealing with the returns of various items is complicated and it's expensive. And so I think Amazon's obviously trying to improve their profit margin here. And in order to do that, they need to figure out how do we take less returns. So sellers can avoid the return related fees by cutting out actually the physical reversal of the logistics that they had to get the item to the purchasers. Some products are not eligible. So, if it's like a dangerous good or a heavy or bulky item or, has an above $75 sale price, those things are not going to be, qualify for this program. And then if you are a purchaser, you have to be in what they consider good standing. Now, I don't know what that fine print is, but if you don't have a history of abuse or, you're not like returning everything, I guess you would fall into that program, right? I think this is interesting, and I'm like, well, I want to know what qualifies for this. Maybe people are more willing to take a risk on an item that they may get to keep even though they don't love it. I don't know. I'm wondering if this is going to be abused and reversed very quickly, but I think that again, it is complicated. Like reversing the logistics has to be a complicated thing to the point that they're willing to say, like, just keep the item. Um, so I don't know. I think this is an interesting program. I'm curious as to what, it'd be great to get some hard numbers here on the data of how much revenue is lost because of returns, like not just because of returning the items, but just the logistics and the cost to cover those returns, at a North American level. I'm sure it's pretty high, and a big chunk of that is Amazon. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you covered it, but like, I mean, I think if you look at this from the other side as well, right? The initial delivery of these things and, the cost of, those deliveries and getting those, local drivers out to, get the stuff there and take a picture of it and all of that. Like those costs continue to escalate, right? We're not seeing, those rates drop by any means. So I think for certain items, low cost items, the non-bulky items that you talked about, I think, within a certain sense, if you've got good credit, let's call it, or you're not, abusing the system, then this kind of makes sense to me because you need to find ways to save, and it's not cheap, to facilitate those returns. I have to say, like I don't order a ton online. I mean, I have, ordered quite a fair bit over Amazon this year, but I've never actually returned anything. I don't even know what the process is to do that. Right. So it's maybe I fall into this category. Maybe I should try it. I'll just buy something and see if I can return
You've never
it.
returned
And see.
anything? That's impressive. That's like, yeah,
I've
you're
never
like the
returned anything, but
ideal.
like I don't buy like, like clothing or things like that. Like I
Yeah.
buy like, just consumable stuff like coffee pods or things like that, right? Like, so yeah, there's no need to return that stuff, I guess. So but yeah, no, I think this makes sense. I think this is a good move by Amazon. I think, like you, I'd like to dig further into the numbers. But I think it can result in some significant savings. All right, final story. And we're going to talk about Bath and Body Works now. So this retailer's been through a lot of ups and downs in the last few years. With COVID and coming out and of that, and having to restructure and losing a lot of their management team. I knew a couple people there. So a lot of changes, but they seem to be stable and they seem to be moving forward and growing. And they made an announcement on their recent earnings call that they will be very soon launching a generative AI powered fragrance finder. This tool will be called the Gingham Genius. So this is coming out later this year, and they've got this, on their roadmap here. Essentially, what it is a conversational interface where customers can describe a scent or candle, and the tool will then provide personalized recommendations to them. Um, I think here's what I'm going to say. So I'm a big fan of generative AI. I think there's a ton you can do with it. I think there's a lot of value. I think there's a lot of time that can be saved by people. I think that there's a lot of different applications for it. To me, this is not one I'm super excited about. Like, I'm not going to go and use the Gingham Genius to find me, a candle that, recommends a candle that, has cinnamon and Old Spice mixed together, or that I'm going to feed into the thing. Like, it's just not something that I'm going to use. But that being said, I know there, especially the younger generation, younger than me, there is this sort of cult following of Bath and Body Works, and maybe, this is the kind of thing that appeals to them. It's also the kind of thing where I think that, I would, we've also talked a lot on the show about metaverse applications and virtual stores and environments. So maybe to me, this would be the kind of thing where, it's fun, maybe there's a gamification element to it that you would embed into, that type of environment. If you have a Bath and Body Works virtual store in a virtual mall or something like that, and people can, earn points or rewards and then redeem those in the physical world. Maybe there's an element to it there that, I could see myself getting behind, but I'm not super excited about this.
I just love that you said cinnamon and Old Spice. Like, if there was like a dad candle, like that might be it. I don't know. You just like you really put yourself there. So you,
Yeah, yeah.
um, okay, let me start with a pro. I love the naming of their little genius. Gingham, I think, is really it's fitting for the brand. It's cute. So kudos on them for that. You know what's funny? I think back to like middle school, high school, and Bath and Body Works was like it, you wanted all the scents and the lotions and you needed to have them. So like when after sports or whatever, and you showered, you were like fresh for school again. I don't have that same feeling anymore now. Like you couldn't pay me to walk into one of these stores because it is like instant headache. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't handle it. But they still, like you said, they have a cult following, and maybe there is an opportunity for this with a younger generation. I'm also not super keen on it. I think that like everybody's trying to figure out how do we use AI for a marketing purpose, like something that is external for customers. And I think there's a lot more applications internally with your data, your infrastructure, way before you're taking AI out to the market to use it as like a marketing tool. So, unless people are really excited about AI and scented lotion at the same time, I don't really see that this is like a huge win for them. But again, I like to see all of these brands trying and just being like, hey, we're gonna jump in on this too. I like the eagerness. I just think there's so many more applications for internal use cases that would actually cut savings, cut costs, I should say, give them savings, add a little bit more revenue to their bottom line, maybe help them out with some personnel challenges. I don't know, but to me, this is probably not the best application or the top priority application of AI.
There you have it. So, like we know what we're talking about, anyways.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but good on them for trying. Hey, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get on the generative AI bandwagon. So, okay, well, that's our show for this week, everybody. You've been listening and watching episode number 685 of Location Weekly. We thank you so much for your time. If you have story ideas or feedback for us, please reach out. If we talked about your company on the show and you want to provide more information so we can go deeper or correct something that we didn't understand, reach out to us about that as well. And of course, we'll be back next week with another show. So until then, have a great one. Take care. Bye.